I'll send it.
Oh, we're good. That way we tweet right away.
I will.
Welcome, everybody. My name's Chief John Bates. I'm the Chief of the St. John Police Force. Welcome to our May board meeting. I'd like to introduce the Chair of the Police Service Board, Henry Mullen, who will be up here with me for this presentation. It's a real pleasure for me to be here and have the opportunity to recognize one of our members. I think I said this about 5 times in the last month, that one of the real pleasures of being a police chief is to recognize the good performance, good conduct, and merit, in this instance, very meritorious conduct of our members, and recognize it not only privately, but publicly in a setting such as this. So it's a real, I take real pleasure in this, and enjoy these moments. A Board of Police Commissioners Gold Commendation is being awarded this evening to Constable Dan Oldamic for risking his personal health and safety to aid another on March 20th, 2016. Dan Oldamic has recently completed 5 years of service with the St. John Police Force and is currently working in our Patrol Services Division as a patrol officer. And while working on patrol March 20th, 2016, he was one of the first responding officers to arrive at the scene where he helped save a desperate man from near certain death. The commendation board, consisting of Inspector David Parks, Staff Sergeant Dave Brooker, and Staff Sergeant Jim Fleming, was convened to review the actions of Dan at the time of this incident. The St. John Police Force commendation policy allows for 3 categories to recognize outstanding performance of our sworn members: the Board of Police Commissioners Gold Award, the Chief's Silver, and the Deputy's Bronze Award. Section 1.13.1 provides that a Board of Police Commissioners Gold Commendation be awarded to a sworn officer for demonstrating the highest standards of police conduct or humanitarianism, that's a heck of a word, in a single operation, incident, or investigation where there is a high risk or exposure to danger. I'm limited in what I can say here. However, after review and consideration of all the relevant facts against the stated criteria, it was the unanimous opinion of the commendation board that Constable Dan Oldamic be awarded the Board of Police Commissioners Gold Commendation for his outstanding performance of duties. Dan traversed down a very difficult and steep, rocky ledge as quick as he could to retrieve a man who had jumped off the Reversing Falls Bridge and was struggling frantically to swim to shore. Constable Oldamic's fearless and selfless action was instrumental in retrieving the man from frigid waters. Constable Oldamic was injured during the course of his duties that evening, but we're pretty glad to have you back in the building. And nothing permanent, right? Nothing permanent. I should point out that Dan lost his wedding ring during the occurrence. I offered him mine, but he refused. And you know, not in the papers here, but you know, there's always something good or humorous that comes along with what we do. And Dan told me the morning of this occurrence that, well, the fellow was floundering around in the water, and Dan was making his way down this rocky ledge to rescue him, save his life. This fellow saw Dan coming down the thing and fall and hurt himself and everything. And though he was flopping around like a fish in the water, he asked if Dan was okay. But that only speaks to the you know, the danger that Dan had put himself in, and the risk of performing his duty. So anyway, on behalf of the force and on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners, Dan, I'd like our board chair to present you with your board commendation. Please come forward.
Smile, Dan.
Don't smile, Dan.
Another picture of me with a guy 6'5".
I couldn't get him to smile on our wedding day, so.
I'll grab his bum.
Oh, you had them.
That's great, very funny.
Want to say anything, man?
I just want to thank everyone for the acknowledgement. I mean, it's nothing that any one of us put in my position at the time. I was just in the right place at the right time. I had to act, and I did. It was a great coordinated effort by all the members of the team working that day. EMS, fire, they were on point, and ultimately it was Coast Guard that got us out of there because I wasn't going back up that hill. So I just want to say thanks for the acknowledgement, and happy to have a happy ending. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, guys.
I'm too busy trying to find SJP to tweet it out.
Listen, that's it, folks. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the time.
Oh, it's riveting.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
St. John, please. Start writing it.
S-A-I-N-T?
Yeah.
You're more proud of me now.
Thank you.
You got it?
Yeah. I got the association, but I couldn't get that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I wore off
Yeah.
St. John, please.
Commendations for gold
Yeah,
medal
St.
service. I'm just tweeting it out, but I
Oh,
just,
yeah, see,
I
yeah.
can tell. I just want the proper.
The Twitter handle, you know.
No,
All the
I
tweeting
don't.
that you do.
No, I don't.
And what's funny
I'm lucky
is,
to do really well.
we have an officer we hired before Dan.
Board of Police Commissioners.
Dan is the same size he was when we hired him as far as weight and everything. We had one guy, in 5 years, I told him one time, each year he put an inch on his waist.
Oh, you're kidding.
Jared Parsons.
Oh, yeah?
And he came on, he's like a 34, and he was up to a 40. Now, he's lost all that weight, but he just said over time,
That's,
yeah, so it was almost, he said it was an inch a year he's putting on.
he needs to go on walking.
No, he's lost some of that weight, but
That's good. He likes Steve
Dan's
Dan's
the opposite, his studies a little bit.
Probably never put him away. Probably doesn't.
I don't need one of you guys.
Probably doesn't put him.
Okay, you need one.
That's lovely.
40.
Really nice.
I'll just.
40, what?
Every 5 years it gets harder.
Yeah. What year?
I'm usually
what are
like
you,
the year
36,
before
34?
my 5
Yeah,
is 0.
34, that's it.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, I owe you.
I'm only 32.
Close the door.
I'll just say this.
In your head.
No, we leave the door open.
I'll tell them.
Leave it open?
Yes.
Yeah,
public meeting.
It's open.
Oh, it's open session.
It means open the door, I guess.
Come on in.
All right.
Like a motion.
I think it's way too.
You treated that as
Hard to call
persistent.
for an open
No, I
session.
didn't. Oh, no! Shoot, I tweeted it from my work one.
Oh, well, there's
I
where you
don't
work.
care, but do you care?
No.
It went out from the school account instead of my own
Just-
account.
That's okay.
It went to you, but somebody else has to retweet it because we only have 60
Somebody give me a
followers.
motion required to open the open session.
Thank you.
Okay, someone seconded?
What?
Yeah, I did that motion.
Okay.
Okay. I need a motion to adopt the agenda of the May 3rd
So moved.
meeting.
Seconded?
Seconded. And the consent agenda. We have a consent agenda. 6.1. Okay, 6.1, consent agenda item. We need a motion to receive and file.
So moved?
Seconded.
10.1, Chief will speak to the internal monthly report.
Thank you. Internal monthly report is before you, and the highlights are that for the month of April 2016, we had no public complaints. We had 3 pieces of complimentary correspondence, and no grievances were received from the St. John Police Association. And that is the report.
Thank you. We need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Item 10.2, Marvin Kursigadin will speak on the 3 items listed, and we'll need a motion for each individual one.
Madam Chair, before I speak, Chief, do you want to open things up? Because this is a good news story for us.
Well, I'll open it up by saying that the unaudited 2015 financial results for both the St. John Police Force and the public safety communications sector are presented to the board tonight. And the high level is that both of those entities had surplus budgets for the year 2015. And that's all I'll get into it, and I will let Marvin speak to it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. As the Chief indicated, for the St. John Police Force, we were under budget at the end of 2015. Our net operating expenses, that's including the expenses and revenue, we were under budget by $337,000. And I just wanted to highlight the 6 key areas that sort of are the driving factors when we look at our annual budget. Revenue, we surpassed our budget expectations by $282,000. Salaries and wages were on target for the year. Obviously, overtime costs exceeded budget by $206,000. Court time and other personnel costs were $111,000 over budget. And fringe benefits were over budget by $45,000. What we were able to do during the year was to put a freeze on our spending, on any discretionary items that we had control over. And what we were able to achieve, which I think is good news for this board and for the police force, is we used our goods and services again to offset the over expenditure in overtime and also in our court time. That being said, we overachieved on our revenue, so what we are giving back to the city, I guess, if we can use that terminology, is $337,000 as far as our net operating budget goes, as far as the balanced budget is. So this is really good because we knew back in July or so of last year that we would have to put a freeze on. We made a commitment we were going to deliver a balanced budget, and the fact that we came in at, on budget, and I think we're at 0.25% under budget, not even 1%. 1% usually is a rule of thumb in any budget, if you stay within 1%. And we, on our operating expenses, about 0.25% of that. So we've done very well, and certainly everyone deserves credit on getting us that. I've answered any questions of the room.
I think this surplus is even better than what we were expecting. I think when we presented to council in December, we were projecting just over 100,000, I think,
That's correct.
surplus. Is that right? And then even then we weren't sure because all of the those items didn't all kind of come through at that point. So great job.
Yes, that's a very good point, and I think where we really, I guess, overachieved was on the revenue side.
Right.
We brought in more money than we expected, so that's always good to see, is to have more revenue coming in than you expect, to try to maintain your expenses, so, yes.
That's right, and that'll probably continue.
That is our plan for
That's right.
2016, yes.
So that's great. That's good news, really good news.
Excellent, because we've talked about, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about overtime. And so we hadn't been budgeting, that budgeted number is a very old number, right?
That's correct.
And so we expected to be over budget based on our workforce numbers and the overtime that we have to run in order to meet our minimum manning on our shifts. So we had to find that money elsewhere, so that's excellent, excellent news.
And just one last point, which
Yeah.
I think is important, when we talk about, I guess, finding savings in other areas to address overtime, court time, is on the salaries and wages, we used any vacancies or any retirements. We didn't, with the exception of hiring a new chief, we didn't hire anyone
Right.
to allow us to achieve this target as well. So we, not only in the good service, we didn't hire anyone in 2015 to help us get there. So it was from all areas that we tried to draw our expenses down. So that's why it turned out to be a good year for us.
Thank you.
And if I can just finish up on that, I just want to say one thing, that I was only here for 1/4 of the year, so I take no credit for any of this, okay? This was, as the chief, I just want to point out that this was a lot of effort on our senior managers that held the line on a lot of these items. A lot of it was carried on the back, the service delivery to the men and women of St. John was very much on the backs of our members. As you know, there's a lot, you see that there was a lot of overtime in there.
Yes, yes.
So we achieved surplus budgets in both, but there was a lot of overtime and a lot of extra time put forth by each and every man and woman that works in this organization. The other thing was, as I was preparing to come to St. John and was following the media, I think there was some criticism of the management of the force with regard to fiscal, its ability to manage the force fiscally, and I think that was it was unfortunate, for sure. I think my predecessor, Chief Reed, did a good job on managing the fiscal things that were going on with the force under very challenging circumstances. And after he retired, Deputy Chief McCloskey was the acting chief for, at least 6 months of the year by himself, and managed to keep things on an even keel with the support of all the senior staff. And I just want to publicly make sure that they are all acknowledged for the good work that they did for 2015 and presenting essentially a surplus, close to balanced, but surplus budget for 2015. So.
And on behalf of the board, I congratulate everyone, because it's been something that everybody contributed to, and it shows. It's great. Thank you very much.
So in this report, there is an actual recommendation that it's recommended the board accept and approve the financial report for the period ended December 31st, 2015, and forward a copy to Common Council as required under Section 7.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, seconded?
I'll second.
Thank you. And there,
Is that for both reports?
I just would like to speak on the public's communication one just briefly.
Okay.
The second report is only receiving file, it's not sent to council.
we go through report.
10.3 is the PSCC.
No,
So
It's
that's
still
what-
in, it's still in.
10.3.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, is it all the same?
It's the same agenda,
Oh, okay.
but just, yeah.
With the Public Safety Communication Center budget, as the chief indicated, we're under budget by $172,000, and really where that saving lies is with our vacancies. We currently, as of the time this report was prepared, We are running 4 vacancies, and as a result, we incurred overtime and had savings in wages to offset that. The reason I want to highlight the 4 vacancies is, as of this week, we have hired 4 new operators.
Oh, great.
So that, if it works out, if the training goes well, and they get through the training and they are permanent, we'll reach our maximum that we never, even get it for one day, that we many years.
Right, that's been a real challenge.
It has been,
Yeah.
so we're very happy to let the board know that
Oh,
4
excellent.
new people were hired this week.
Yeah.
And we're hoping for the best for each of them, so that's really good.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Very much. Okay. So we've done the motion, right? We-
No.
Four?
You need one for this. Well, I guess it'll go. It's all one. I would do them both separately.
All separately?
Yeah, but just those two.
Okay. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. So we finished them all in
Except to say 10.3.
which one, the overtime?
There's 2 separate open.
10.4.
Overtime,
I'll make a motion to, did we look at 10.3 yet?
Not yet.
No.
It's our overtime for the police.
10.4. Overtime hours. you want?
Didn't put on that thing,
Did we do 10?
We're doing it now.
Do it now. Overtime and court expenses, is that the
Now,
next
yes,
agenda?
overtime and court expenses.
So, where is it? Who's presenting it?
It's 10.4.
Okay.
Marvin,
Marvin?
he just had to.
There.
Okay, first report we have in 10.3 is the overtime court expense as of March of 2016. For the month of March, we factor in our extra duty, $16,000 over budget with respect to the expense side. And year-to-date, including our extra duty revenue, we're $116,000 over budget. And certainly, I know the chief has said this before, we are doing a lot of training this time of year. And as a result, we're doing it at a time where we have the most resources. So we should see during the summer, there'll be less training, which certainly will stabilize our overtime for the most part. And with respect to court time, what's really good here is for the month of March, we're just slightly under budget by $2,400, and year-to-date, we're only $7,200 over budget, which is really good considering we're already 1 quarter into the year. So unless anyone has any questions, I'll certainly try to answer them.
Is there anything on the horizon that we know of in terms of large court cases, anything that we're going to make a draw? Okay.
No. 2015 was our big year.
Right, I know, so that's what I was thinking, 'cause last year was not an easy year, and you managed to,
No, I don't think so.
so, okay.
Good case on the go right now, but it's not really.
Right, but there's no kind of big.
Most of what's driving our overtime this year, and one of the things I wanted, Marvin and I have talked about was that the actual number that appears there, which is that $116,000, but when we look at, when you go, and Marvin will speak to the overtime utilization, so I think we're gonna have some clarification on what that number is for the board, because it looks like we're overspent $116,000 on overtime this year. That's not the case. And
That's
so
the
there's-
payout.
There's payouts.
Right.
Combination of many things.
It's a combination, and we'll talk about those when we get to the overtime utilization. These are, the numbers on the books are the numbers on the books, but.
Yes, yeah, and that's why we asked for the utilization
Yeah.
report, because we were never able to get out in front of it. So, yeah, good. So I'll make a
Okay.
motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Seconded. 10.4.
The next report is, the chief indicated, is the overtime hours utilization report. And if you look at the month of March, we are just slightly over budget with respect to hours of 244. And again, for the year-to-date, we're 572 hours over budget. And one of the things that we were able to do for 2016, which I didn't highlight for the court time previous, is we were able through adjusting our goods and services, we did adjust our court time budget and our overtime budget in 2016, so that's why you've seen the court time a little more in line to what's realistic now, because we always, that number was static for 15 years. So with respect to the overtime budget, we did increase that, which obviously would increase the number of available hours in 2016. So you see why this report is so important as a sort of a dashboard for us is what are we actually burning up in overtime for the year? And you'll see year-to-date, we're 572 hours over budget. On the second page, we keep referring to what is the driving factor. It's backfilling our platoons. That's where our overtime comes in for the most part. And you'll see that for the month of March, keeping with the theme of training and everything else, we backfilled 59 shifts. And year-to-date, we backfilled 152 shifts. Which the 1826 year-to-date, if you take that number and go back to the front page, if I could ask you to do that, and look at patrol services, that number was 1972. So backfilling shifts pretty much is what is happening in our patrol budget, if I could use those two at reference point. 1972 and 1828 of that, 1826 was related to just backfilling shifts and keeping our minimum numbers at the 10 and 12. So that's why we think this report is more relevant than the other one, even though that's important as well, but it's relevant to what's happening each month. So again, if there's any questions, I'm certainly trying to answer them with Chief.
How much of that backfilling is related to training? Do we know that?
I would say a substantial amount of it
Right.
has been related directly to the training this year. So we've undertaken the rapid deployment training, and that, which was service-wide, and then we've been undergoing the public order unit training, which has not been done for a number of years.
6 years.
Yeah, so that's, we're taking a deep dive in there. Use of force training has been done this year already.
Handguns are starting.
Handguns will be starting. We're going to spread that out over several months this year, both at the front end of summer and the back side of the summertime as well, to try and level the playing field.
We don't train in the summer, right, because of the vacation schedule?
But so when I look at that $116,000 that Marvin quoted earlier, and then I look at what we're actually over in hours, 572, and you do the math on that, I mean, it's $30,000, it's not 116.
Right.
So a lot of that is.
Well, we pay overtime after, right?
That's
So
correct.
we don't, and that was that whole discussion last year before we had this report. And it was very confusing to try to understand, why were we over budget, but it wasn't really indicative of that quarter, so.
And some of those dollars, there's a lag in getting the special duty pay back and then put on the books, so that makes a difference. There's always a year-end adjustment, if I'm correct, Marvin, that sort of.
That's correct, yes.
Balances things out, so.
In 2015, we've seen a very minimal adjustment that allowed us to reach that target of having a balanced budget as well. Because what we do is, at the end of the year, we do an accrual to adjust what the outstanding liability is to every person. And I always use the statement, if we were to close up shop on December 31st, what do we owe everybody? And that's how we do that calculation. And in 2015, our adjustment was minimal compared to previous years. So you pay it during the year, and then at the end of the year, you adjust either up and down. In this case, it was favorable. And that's the real thing too, is the overtime expense report is more of an accounting report, where this utilization is what's happening.
It's a management
Yes,
report.
management. I think that's the distinction you should always make, is this is just recording expense when it happens, not so much it's matched to the month it occurs. What we're giving you in utilization is what's actually happened that month, which is key to operating any business. That's your sort of management tool you're going to follow as far as utilization goes.
Can I ask a question? I don't know how difficult it would be, but is it possible for us to, so I like how you pulled out backfilling the 12-hour shifts, but like we've talked about, a lot of that is training. I wonder if we can get.
Not all of it, though.
No,
I mean, it's not-
but is it possible for us to get that broken out by how much is training and how much is, because that'll help us kind of determine what
could,
needs
but-
to be done about it, right?
We could, but it'd be a lot of work for somebody to.
Was it okay?
And obviously if the
And is
board
it
wants it,
worth it? Yeah.
we'll get it, but,
One of the issues you arise when you say it's training, when we schedule a week's training, you say 3 or 4 people are away training that week. And we have enough numbers to run the shift, but people will come in at the last minute with their support status, those type of things, take them off, plus somebody gets injured, plus somebody
Got
gets
it.
sick. Now all of a sudden we have to hire.
Right,
them
it's
back.
just one more reason you have unavailable officers.
Correct.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah, we
fine.
wish it was that simple.
Yeah.
It's
I do too.
The last minute stuff that, when they do the planning, David's right, it's.
Yeah,
you have
I
the Resources
understand.
available
Yeah,
when you do the
okay.
scheduling.
Right, right.
but to let
And
them
we
know it's
actually, I
done.
mean, not that we get into details, but we actually had not a lot of members off for surgeries and stuff this spring too. Like it just,
Yes,
you know, it's gonna happen, so.
yeah, yeah, no, that's fine. Okay.
See you on no.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, so I have any more questions around the table?
Thank you very much.
No? Okay, motion to receive and file?
I'll put that motion.
Seconded.
Second. Okay. If there's no more business, then I'll ask for
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn and second.